Hello, hello, hello. It is time. My name is Natasha Nurse. I'm the owner and co-founder of Dressing Room 8, and today I'm talking all about how to master the art of public speaking. So if you're not already familiar with who I am, Dressing Room 8 was started about 3 years ago. It's a coaching and consulting business for women creatives and women in their startups, women entrepreneurs, professional women, women looking for personal and professional transformation. And I do a lot of online content like this about career-oriented focused material, as well as also just mindset coaching and how do we just live our best life, right? Like that's just like, I love that phrase, and I use it whenever I can. Just living your best life, right? Like whether it's how we think, it's how whatever we're doing, the people we spend time with, just living your best life. And especially when it comes to your career, making sure that you're in a career that you want and that you're really utilizing whatever tools and techniques that are out there for you to succeed. Because we spend so much time doing our job, right? Like right now, in this moment, this is a part of my job. So, we really want to make sure that we're mastering our careers and really moving forward. And a big part of that, sometimes for people, if you're like me, who is very involved in online content development for myself or for my clients, it comes down to public speaking. And I know this isn't necessarily something that people love or gravitate to. I think if you happen to be an introvert, you tend to be more inclined not to love and embrace public speaking. I myself, full disclosure, I wasn't necessarily born to be a butterfly. I think that how I was raised helped create the person I am today. And so I had parents that really emphasized the idea that you should be very confident in public, and that when you are meeting people, that you should gravitate to the scenarios where you can put your hand out and you can say, hey, my name is, and this is what I do, and I'm excited to meet you, and what brings you here kind of approach to life. And it served me well. It really has helped. To be honest, it's helped me in my networking game. It's helped me in how I started my company, Dressing Room 8. So it's definitely something that is not like, oh, Tasha, I'll deal with that in 2019. Like, no, if you're in business now, you need to really think about how public speaking is affecting your day-to-day practices, as well as when you want to participate in conferences and events and brand awareness. How can you use this to get ahead and further what you're doing, right? So that's essentially what we're going to talk about. And so let's get right into it. Ways that public speaking can help you. It can help you in your business. It can help you with your side hustle. It can help you with your personal endeavors. It can help you build a platform. It can help you connect with larger groups of people. It can boost your confidence. And also, if you're just into like adrenaline, kind of junky activities, this is one of those, right? Because when you have to get up in front of 300, 500, 600, 1,000 people, 10,000 people, that's definitely not an easy feat, right? That's something that you need to prepare for and something that you need to work up for. But can it change your life? Hells yeah, it can change your life. So it's definitely something to do. Now, I don't know if you're a fan of Business Insider. I definitely am. And they had a really interesting article called 13 Public Speaking Mistakes You Don't Want to Make, right? And so we'll go through each point. I don't necessarily know if I completely agree with each point, but I think it's worth for us talking about it. And of course, if time is cutting short, I will snip to this and get to the Dressing Room 8 tips that you need to remember, but we shall see. First, a big mistake is not tailoring your message to your audience. I think this is key, right? I think that now more than ever, all we're doing is we're essentially trying to grab people's attention and hold it for as long as we possibly can. Given, I can't even tell you how many people probably are live streaming at this exact moment, right? So what is going to make you tune into this more than someone else's? It's going to be the platform. It's going to be either you wanting to know what I'm talking about now, you being a fan of Dressing Room 8, you being a fan of public speaking and wanting to address this, ... right? But there's reasons for why we consume what we consume and how we happen upon things as we do. And so if I said I was going to have a talk and I didn't tailor it to who I'm speaking to, what's likely to happen? You might fall asleep. You might not be interested. You might say, oh, I'm never listening to her again. I'm never going to her events, right? Like it can go either way. It can be a positive thing if you tailor your message, but if you don't tailor your message, most likely it's going to result in a mixed outcome or a negative outcome that you don't want. So avoid. Second, eye darting. So what does this mean, right? So when you're talking, right, you're here, so I see you, but what do you see a lot of times when people are doing public speaking? This, right? That A is like super tiring to try to keep up with. You're like, where's she at? Where, like, so that is just like a distractor. And also, what does it do? It looks like you're less confident. It looks like you're not feeling like you are the person to speak on this subject. Come to things with a level of confidence, with a level of like, I'm not saying, be cocky or be like, I'm so like cool, I can't learn anything. No. What I'm saying is be confident, be strong. Obviously you can learn. Obviously you can always improve. That's what life is all about. But the eye darting thing, that's a distractor. Your audience is not going to like that. So please avoid. Next, distracting mannerisms. So on this checklist that I'm going down, since you were like, hey, you might have thought, why did I look down? I have my checklist in front of me. So I don't miss anything. Distracting mannerisms. So what do I think they mean by this? So like, if you're like, not popping and locking kind of thing, but just like, maybe you have just like certain type of tics or things like that. And granted, everyone's different and everyone has a different style. So I don't necessarily know if I fully agree with this, because sometimes there are certain physiological states that people are in where they twitch, things are happening in their body physiologically. So, I think you do the best that you can do. I think the best advice there, I would say, is if you can have a calm demeanor about yourself when you're speaking and you can kind of be still, not stiff as a board, right? But be still so that when you do one gesture, it's like leading in with whatever you're talking about. And some people, when they do presentations, they walk and they change sides and stuff like that. So if it's a natural flow for what you're talking about, cool. But again, if you have something that goes on where you do twitch or you do move or whatever, I think that, you can't, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. So, try to not be a distractor. And if your body is moving as it needs to move, then it moves. Low energy. So how many people have gone and seen people speak and they talk like this and it's not very exciting and they seem like they would rather put pins in their eyes than be doing this right now? Right? Like, so if I talked at that level, you would not watch this on the live or the replay. You would be like, deuces, it's been real, chick, right? You have to come to things with a level of energy. Now, I understand that everyone is different, and so not everyone is, big lips and hi, right? Like that's the level where I'm at, and I enjoy to exist in that level. But what I think the article is saying is this type of energy / robotic approach to life is not going to get people interested in what you have to say. That was so hard to do that. It was so hard to do that. Okay, so we're keep it moving. I think that's self-evident. It's really clear. Next, not rehearsing. So this is another one where I think some people might differ. Some people say that they don't, when it comes to their public speaking, that they don't actually rehearse. Some people like create bullet points and they just kind of go with it because they want it to be more natural. They want people to really resonate with what they're saying and not be caught up with the like, oh, did I say and that kind of searching moment where you're trying to re-envision every single word in the paragraph 3 of what you're trying to say. It can get a little taxing and a little overwhelming to some people by creating the exact lineup of what you're going to say. My approach is, if you don't know, I'm a Virgo and I love checklists and I love like lists and just kind of that type of organization and structure. And so when I'm preparing for public speaking, and I'm talking everything public speaking. I'm not just talking about like in front of a stage, just so we're clear. This would constitute, I think that I don't know if you would say this is the typical definition of public speaking, but what I would say is what we're focusing on today is when you have to get in front of another person, right? So whether this is one person watching you on a live stream, whether this is 100 people in a conference room, whether this is at your job and you are in front of 5 other team members, the point is preparing for speaking in front of other people. And so I would advise not necessarily crafting an exact speech of what you want to talk about, because then you get caught up on the words instead of the feeling and the overall sentiment of the conversation you're trying to have, but create little checklists for yourself. What are the main things you want to say in your intro? What are the main things in the body of what you're speaking about? What are the main things you want to conclude with, right? Giving yourself little talking points, A, super easy to memorize, B, easier flow in how you're like kind of seeing the words in your head, and you're really just working on the presentation of what you're saying, not the exact wording of what you're saying. Okay? Next, not being inspiring. So this is interesting because I think not every talk is inspirational. I think that some talks are completely informative in nature. Some talks, like if you're doing a presentation in front of congressmen about, like some type of statute or some type of legal thing, maybe you're a researcher or a scientist and you're doing a presentation on some type of new discovery. I don't know if in every field if you need to be inspiring. I think you can aim for it, but some people may or may not agree with that. And so I'm just putting that out there. Personally, do I think you should always be inspiring? Yeah, I think learning is learning. No matter how you present something, you can figure out a way to make it inspirational, right? You can figure out a way to resonate with the people in the audience or the people in front of you to make people say, wow, that was really cool. Not, damn it, why did I sit for this? I really want to eat lunch right now, right? I think there's different approaches that you can take to make conversations more exciting and interesting. So I advise it. I could understand how some people could differ from that point of view. Next is lack of pauses. This is interesting. So what I think the article is talking about there is when you're talking really fast and you're just going through your thing and you're not really pausing and you're like on to the next slide and right? Woo! Wait a minute. You might go 1,000,000 miles per hour, but your audience may not. Making sure that if you're tailoring your message, do you know who's attending? If you're talking to a group of people and maybe they speak a certain type of way, or maybe they like for people to repeat what they're saying, that might be helpful for you to tailor your message, but also do things like take breaks, because not everyone speaks like this and not everyone can understand information when you're speaking like this and you're just, right? Take a break, pause, let information sink in a little bit before we go on to the next topic. That's something myself that I've had to practice over and over again, because while you get really excited and you could say, oh my God, I'm doing da, right? But wait a minute, your audience has to also follow you along. It has to be logical. So making sure that we're doing things like taking breaks, that we're cognizant of who we're speaking to and how fast we're speaking and how loud we're speaking. All of these things matter in the presentation that you're ultimately giving. Next on deck, not crafting a powerful opening. So that's interesting. Again, I think that could be argued depending upon what you're talking about. But again, if you're ultimately trying to make a positive, impactful, resonating presentation, regardless of your industry, then I do agree. I think that a powerful opener would be great. Now, does your opener have to be something like a prophetic phrase or quote that you've memorized or biblical in nature? Again, I think the context is up to you. It's going to be contingent on who you're speaking to, what you're speaking about, and the impact that you're trying to make. But I do think that if you begin a conversation, you're doing a conversation or you're having a presentation on global warming, and you begin the conversation by saying, my name is Dr. Felix, da, da, da. Or you say, the earth will come to an end in 500 years. It might be more compelling to begin with the latter, not the former, right? Because why? If you're ultimately giving a presentation on the degradation that human beings are doing to this planet, then not to say that your name and your credentials are not important, but it's much more of a bang with a woo, right in the, we're just getting right in there before we get to who we are. So even myself, when I go and do talks, I typically save the bit about who I am for the end, and I just kind of go right into my subjects. For my live streams, I typically like to begin with introducing who I am, because if people are joining in the beginning, I want them to get a context of like who I am and why I'm talking about what I am. But generally, I would say if this format was, if I was doing this on a longer, usually my talks are like an hour and stuff like that. Yeah, I save the who I am bit for the tail end of it, because it's more about we're in this moment to talk about a specific subject, right? So let's get into it. Tell me why this is compelling. Why should I give a damn about public speaking? Why should I give a damn about the global warming, things like that, right? So keep that in mind for when you're giving your presentations. Next, using too much or not enough humor. I thought this was good because I actually was reading a book recently that was saying if you want to become a better public speaker, you should actually pay attention to some of the techniques that publics I guess comedics are doing in their stand-up routines, which I was like, that's kind of really creative and really interesting, because why? Stand-ups are public speakers, or comics are public speakers, right? They're using the art of humor to grab our attention and to hold it. And depending upon how good of their routine, their stand-up is going to be, depends on whether we stay hooked and we're like, oh my God, more, or what do? We start to grab the technical devices, the phones, the things, and we're like, okay, that wasn't really funny, right? And then we get in our mode, we get in our head. But really, right, the comics like that, if you've watched, I'm a big fan of Kevin Hart, and I've loved Monique for many years in the past, and various Amy Schumer, right, like various comedians who do their thing, and they have like their distinctive style that they've taken time to actually craft. I remember me and my husband from Woke and Free actually saw Kevin Hart at Penn State before Kevin Hart was Kevin Hart, right? And it's been very interesting to see how his stand-up changed when he came to Penn State many moons ago, and now how he, the don't laugh at my pain kind of routine I think that he did. I feel like he's doing another one this year as well. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to see it, but shout out to you, Kevin Hart. You're doing your thing, sir. Jumanji was amazing. Loved it. So I digress. But I think ultimately what I was saying is humor. The article is saying people who don't incorporate humor or incorporate too much humor, it can get a little bit dicey. So what do I say? I like to be quirky. I like to be fun. I think I think people, it's difficult to be mad or in a bad mood if you're laughing, right? So whenever you can give information and you can add a little bit of fun, a little bit of play, a little bit of humor to it, I think it adds for a holistically better presentation. So definitely consider it. Now, granted, again, context is everything. If you are talking about domestic violence awareness, you have to be careful, right? Maybe there's points and segments where you can incorporate humor, but certain topics might be a little bit challenging. Maybe you're doing a talk on the death, killing people, or child abuse, pedophilia. Like it depends on the context, right? You find the appropriate way where you can incorporate the humor, and then you take it from there. Next on deck is reading from your slides. So again, I think that I wouldn't just throw this out there as a mistake to avoid. I think that it's something to keep in mind, right? When people come to see people speak, do they come to see you speak, or do they come to see you looking to the right and just being like da 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 da? No, they've come to see you speak, right? So I would say, and I use PowerPoint slides. I know I've seen information out there about people saying, if you want to be a good public speaker, don't use your slides. I like to use my slides because why? getting people's attention can be difficult, and you can only, and some people only give you 2 to 3 seconds before they've moved on onto something in their head, right? So having a slide behind me allows me to talk and do what I'm doing. And also, if you are a wanderer, maybe it's difficult for you to focus, and you can like give me 1 second and then you're like, what's this, right? At least you're gonna look and you're gonna see what I'm talking about, right? So it's kind of double whammy. It's going to be coming from me, but it's also going to be coming from the presentation that I've presented to you on my slides. Next would be making an excuse and an apology if you're late, or, you know, maybe you made a mistake. Again, I think that humility and humbleness is always a good thing in life. I agree that it doesn't necessarily, if you're starting your conversation like, I'm so sorry, I'm late, I really want to be, right? Like, it does kind of create a negative tone. So I would say if you need to publicly apologize in your presentation, put it in the most perfect moment. What should we start with it? That doesn't seem like a powerful opener, right? So maybe think about saving that for the last bit of it, right? After you've done your who are you bit, maybe then you go into the, again, I'd like to apologize for not arriving on time, but I greatly appreciate you sitting here. And then this leads to our next thing. According to this article in Business Insider, they suggest not ending with a Q&A. Again, I think that can be argued, because there are events that I've gone to where the whole point of the event was for you to sit and listen to people speaking, whether it's a panelist, whether it's one-on-one, and then after ask the speaker questions. So I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that there's something to be said about being able to engage with a speaker, because why? The person has touched on various subjects, and now you might be activated to say, well, what do you mean about this? And can you elaborate about that? So I don't necessarily know if I would deem that as a mistake or something to avoid. What I would say is, don't use a Q&A as your closer, right? So like, don't be building people up, build, and then you're just like, oh, you got questions, right? Because then it feels like you built them up a hill, and then you're like, oh, I'm done, thanks. And so that's kind of a deflating ending. What I would say is, if we begin with this, dramatic opener, or this like really eye-catching or, moving opener, then also remember to close it out, right? Start as strong and end at the same level of intensity, and really give that really cool impact. So I would end with something powerful. Pause. People will clap. Thank you. And then, hey guys, I am here for an extra 15 minutes. I'd love to know if you had any questions, if you wanted to talk about things in a greater detail. And also, don't forget, here's my contact information if you did want to get in touch with me later. Right? I think that that's a natural, nice transition into kind of the next step. So I hope that was helpful. Now, what are we up to? Now we're up to the dressing room 8 tips for mastering public speaking. I know you guys are like real amped for this, right? Number 1 with a bullet, breathe. Right now, in this moment, I want you to take a deep breath with me. Let's do it together, guys. So soothing. So soothing. I think that people do not take the time to take deep breaths. When you're about to walk in front of a stage of 1,000 people, maybe you're doing a presentation for your job in front of 20 people, right? The number doesn't matter. It's more about kind of the association you have in your mind about how important this is. So if you've made this in your mind to be something of importance, then it means what? Then you're most likely wanting to kill it. You're wanting to do well at it, which means what? The nerves, the anxiety, all that start to rise. So what's a really good cutter of that? Deep breaths. When I take a deep breath before I start talking, I know I just like instant calmness, and I'm hello. The world is ... right? Like, I'm ready to go. And I think that if you haven't tried this, you should definitely try it. And if you have tried it and you're not doing it enough, do it more. right? Even if you're in the middle of your presentation, maybe you're starting to fumble or something, maybe you're getting hot. You know, I've definitely been in a situation where I'm like 15 minutes in and I'm like, I feel the sweat on me and it's like making me like, I feel like, oh God, can they see me sweating? Take a deep breath. All right, I'm good. Tell yourself you're good too, right? Just like, I'm good. I got this, mama. You're good. Speak kind words, empowering words, comforting words to your body. Your body is supporting you through this moment. Speak to her, speak to him, whoever, you know, whatever gender assignment you give yourself. Comfort yourself. Got this. Smile and go, right? And just like do this. You can do this in the beginning. You can do it in the middle. But just remember, breathe while we continue to do what we're doing. It's going to make it easier for you guys. Second, this is a phrase actually I told someone recently who seemed very nervous about doing a public speaking event. No one knows what you're going to say. You watching me right now, you don't have a clue what I was planning to say, right? Exactly. So how can I get really nervous about, oh my God, what if I don't say this right, when you don't have a clue what I'm going to say? If you don't know what I'm going to say, then that means what? That I have all the control in how I execute this. So what are you paying attention to? You're paying attention to the eye darting. You're paying attention to the physical kind of distractors. You're paying attention to how I'm making you feel, but you don't have a clue about what I'm about to say. So please, 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 if you're embarking on a public speaking event that you're going to do, please don't get nervous about am I going to say everything? Am I going to say everything correctly when the audience doesn't have a clue what you're going to say? So what do you need to do? Memorize your little checklist. Like I told you, break it down into 3 simple parts. What are the main points of what I'm beginning with? What are the main points of the body of what I'm talking about? What are the main points of my conclusion? If you have those 3, if it's 3, 3, 3, cool. If it's 4, 4, 4, whatever the number is, memorize that. Practice that, and then when you're doing your thing, right, in your mind, you can just like check it off. Yes, did this. Yes, did this. Continue, go, 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 right? And reaffirm that you're doing and giving the speech that you want, and you're living your best life. You're living your best life. It's amazing. What I do, I would say that, and again, maybe not everyone feels this way. I can share my experience, right? The experience I have had when I give the speech that I want to give, and whether it's a workshop, whether it's a talk, whatever it is, I just this wave of just like amazement, just like, yes. And then when at the end, I'm networking with my audience and they're trying to connect with me and they're telling me about things that what I said really resonated or helped them, just like this, just amazing feeling of bliss and victory and joy and just, I'm ready to conquer the world and I'm living my best life. Like I'm living it, right? And so I know maybe not everyone feels that way, but that's how I feel. So that's why I'm passionately talking about this subject with you, because it can be freaking cool as hell when you kick this and you keep doing it. And I would say a big part of mastering the art of public speaking is literally speaking over and over again. You know, when I started doing public speaking events, when I was 14 years old, I had the privilege and honor to be able to work on a NASA project for a New York research project here for NASA Goddard GISS program. And I started talking about carbon storage research in Black Rock Forest, which is a forest here in New York. And that pretty much, I just recently went to an event where they wanted to hear back from their alumni who participated in these projects. And I was saying this was the beginning of my public speaking career. This was the beginning of my networking. This was the beginning of my professional career. I was 14 years old. It was an honor and privilege. I will always tell people, you know, some of the things I've been able to do in my life, blessings, right? Who says they worked for NASA at 14? I do. Right? But I learned because I had to give a presentation in front of I forget the number of scientists. I don't want to say the wrong number, but it was a lot of people in the room. Let's put it that way. It might have been like 200 or at least 100 people, right? And I had to figure it out. And of course, at 14, I definitely wasn't the, 31-year-old Natasha in front of you. But at the end of the day, it began everything. And yes, there are nerves. And yes, there's this angst and this, kind of, is it going to be what it's going to be? But if you remember to first breathe, if you remember that the audience doesn't have a freaking clue what you're about to say to them. So it doesn't matter. Your speech will be what it will be. Focus on what you want it to be and focus on practicing it so it can be what it needs to be, right? And you can execute and you can win. You can have that victory for yourself. All right. So I hope you're like, yes, yes, yes. Like you're in it. You're in it to win it, right? Next point. People, and this is actually a phrase by our late and great Maya Angelou. She said, people don't remember what you said to them, right? They remember how you made them feel. So I've said that a couple of times already. What do I mean by this? People want to feel something when you're speaking to them. Obviously, again, the context of the public speaking event, yeah, maybe you have to give stats, maybe you have to educate a certain level of information that you need to distill to your audience, but they also want to feel something. And if you can be inspirational, if you can be motivational and educational, like yes, 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 like all day, yes, because that is going to make them feel something about the information you're sharing. It's going to make them feel something about the platform that you're exposing them to, the mindset that you're teaching them, right? The information itself is valuable, but the feeling that you give with them, that lasts with them. That's what makes them go back to your website. That's what makes them email you. That's what makes them share your content, right? That feeling is what makes your talk or your public speaking event gangster or amazing, right? That. So focus on the feeling. What do you want, right? So from this, I will tell you, what do I want you to feel? I want you to feel activated. I want you to feel excited. That's why I'm yes and getting all into it, because I want you to feel like, hell's yes, I can do this. Hell's yes, I can rock this. Because too many people tell me, oh, I'm afraid of public speaking. Why? You have a dope ass company. You have a dope ass platform. You have a dope ass book. Stop the nonsense, right? Public speaking can allow you to perpetuate what you're doing on a massive scale. Don't fall back from this and say, I don't know how to do this well. Well, you know what? We're here to talk about that. We're here for you to master that so that you can use this in your toolbox as a way to broaden, grow, and expand your business, your platform, what you're doing in this world. Okay? Next, everything's a work in progress. Am I going to tell you that every speech I give is like killing it? No, absolutely not. I'm sure that there are specific things per talk that I've given that I could work on. So I imagine you are in the same boat. We are all human beings, right? So nothing is perfect. Please understand this. Nothing is perfect. So whether you stumble, whether you, maybe the wording of what you say is great, but maybe the energy is kind of low. Maybe the wording of what you're saying is great, but you're doing the I thing. People can't follow you. Maybe you are doing like bad posture and you're kind of giving this energy of like, I don't want to be here. I can't do this, all that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So that's some of the things that you should be working on and remembering. And another thing that people like to do is they like to do things and then they don't watch the videos of themselves. They don't watch the performance of what they did. Do it so that you can learn how to improve your performance, right? We're not doing it because we're narcissists. We're doing it because there's value to understanding, how could I have done this better? Ooh, we're a little bit over, so I'm going to speed it up now. Okay, next, learn your craft. There are tons of people in this world who are master public speakers or they're just cool in their business, their trade, whatever. And you just actually like hearing them do public speaking. If that's the case, follow them, subscribe to their YouTube channel, subscribe to their emails, follow their content, share their content, and observe and see how you can also benefit by incorporating some of the things that they're doing that you really love. Okay? Next, be passionate. I don't care if you're talking about cricket legs or you're talking about global warming or you're talking about domestic violence awareness or you're talking about what's the fall trends. Like, I don't care the context. Be passionate. Don't go in front of people and be talking like this and you have this like attitude and or you just don't care. What the hell is that? People are coming to hear information. Try to be passionate. Try to be engaging. It makes for a better talk. It makes for better human-to-human interaction. And why are you not passionate about what you're doing, right? That life is too short not to be. So get it together and come correct with people. Come correct, guys. Like this type of, I'm here to talk about public speaking. I'm just doing this. No, that's not going to cut it. You can do better. So do better. Next, always work from a clear purpose and be purposeful in what you're doing. So when you're doing public speaking, that's why I like to set the tone out as to what I'm talking about initially. Be purposeful. Why are you even doing these events? Don't just sign up to do public speaking, right? Be purposeful in why you signed up to do this, why you're creating these events, and what you are distilling in front of the audience in front of you, okay? And then nextly, make your audience want to get to know you and on a deeper level. And what do I mean by that? That means from how you look to what you say, to the feeling that you're resonating with them, and also the call of action that you've given at the end. So whether this is a science presentation, like I said earlier, and you're just giving information, maybe your call of action is please get in touch with me to share your thoughts on my research. Maybe you are a coach like me and you want people to go to your website, learn a little bit more about you, check out your recent article. Maybe you have a book, maybe you have a new coaching program, maybe you have a live stream event that you are working on, right? Whatever the call of action is, work on making sure that they actually want to take you up on your offer, whatever your offer is. But make sure you end with an offer, right? Get in touch with me by the whatever your call of action is. But make sure the presentation you've given is going to make that person want to do it, right? And so with that, lastly, I do apologize for going a couple of minutes over. If you are going to be embarking on public speaking event or you actually just want to work on your public speaking skills, I want to work with you on it. I think it's something that everyone can master. This isn't just for 10% of the population. Anyone can do this, right? Anyone can do this. It just requires time, energy, and devotion to incorporating it in your life. It's not something, you don't have to quit your day job to do this. It's a part of your life, but it's just about utilizing some of the things that we talked about today. So what do? You go to dressingroom8.com. Call of action. And you go to the contact page, schedule a session page. That's what you do. So you schedule a session with me. I'll do a free consultation with you. We can talk about what is the event. What do you want to talk about? What are the things you're struggling with? And for 30 minutes, it's you and me, baby. I will help you make sure that next event is banging. All right, so you could do that. We go to dressingroom8.com, and I'll put this at the end, and you can schedule a session with me, free consultation. Let's talk about how you can master your next public speaking event. And then if you had questions specifically about what I talked about here in this moment with you, email you, girl. Email me. I want to talk. Let's talk. Do you know what my life motto is? Learn something new and meet someone new every single day. So if you want to be that person for me, boom, boom, let's do it. You can email me, natasha@dressingroom8.com, and I will leave both the website and the email at the end of the comments of this, okay? So thank you for your time. I hope that you learned. I hope that I have activated you to understand how you can not only master public speaking for yourself, but why you need to do this and the importance of how this can escalate your business, how this can escalate your life. And it's been a pleasure, guys. All right, thanks. Bye.